Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Austin, Texas.
Austin man walks up to a stranger using a computer on the fourth floor of the Central Library, punches him in the head so hard he's knocked out of the chair, stomps on his head multiple times while he lies unconscious on the floor, then calmly walks back to his own computer, sits down. 10 cases of this, 3 felonies, all dismissed, 4 assaults, all dismissed, 0 jury trials because he's got the last name Vasquez. And of course, the guy needs to be in a lunatic asylum, but they don't have those anymore.
APD Chief Lisa Davis happened to be at the library for a meeting about library security, so she helped detain Vasquez. He's now charged with felony aggravated assault. The victim has critical injuries.
Austin, Texas, like many Act Blue Soros strongholds, has a district attorney problem. Austin DA Jose Garza is releasing most first-time offenders back into a city where crime has skyrocketed.
I know we have a lot of DSA comrades, and I'm going to pass it off to our own elected official, Jose Garza.
He instituted a new radical policy, and that policy was to say that no one who does not pose a threat to our community should be sitting in jail simply because they can't afford to get out.
Hey, Jose Garza, why do you let all the criminals out? Every day people harass me on the bus. What's the deal, Jose Garza?
We have Jose Garza here in Austin, Texas, who is hands down the worst Soros DA, which says a lot. And he releases people after they shoot random crowds the next day. No bond. Only way you get in trouble is if the cops kill you. You make it to him, you're walking.
An attack on a Cap Metro bus in South Austin sent 2 people to the hospital this afternoon. This comes at a time when Cap Metro is expecting big crowds for South by Southwest.
Now, Cap Metro reports that its police responded to nearly 200 criminal offenses since June of 2025, which is also the same time that they launched their transit police. And for some context, Cap Metro says that they average nearly 2 million riders a month.
This is just the latest in a string of violent events on Cap Metro buses or bus stops. In 2022, a teenager was accused of stabbing a man to death at a Cap Metro bus stop in North Austin. In February of 2025, a teen was stabbed at a bus stop near LBJ High School in East Austin. Then in May of that year, one man fatally stabbed another man as they were riding a Cap Metro bus. That same month, Cap Metro created its transit police department. In January of this year, Austin police say a woman stabbed a man on a Cap Metro bus at 5th and Lavaca downtown. Later that month, police arrested a man for stabbing a victim 3 times on a Cap Metro bus. And in February, APD responded to a shoot-stab call at a downtown bus stop that sent one person to the hospital.
APD says Kandel admitted to stabbing Mr. Gupta because he resembled his uncle. He's now in the Travis County Jail facing a first-degree murder charge. Today, Cap Metro leadership acknowledged those witnesses who were on the bus.
Last night was an isolated incident, but it was horrific.
An isolated incident.
Bus operators are being assaulted. They're being spit on. We have a high uptick. And I'm calling upon all the leadership here for your help. I shouldn't have to file a grievance.
You know, a lot of these are broader social issues and healthcare issues and lots of economic issues that fall on our doorstep. But we may not be able to solve those problems, but we do have to grapple with the impacts of those broader social problems.
According to court documents, police believe 55-year-old Harold Newton Keene shot someone in the library's 6th floor bathroom and then escaped on a Cap Metro bus. Police think Keene shot someone else about 10 hours earlier.
Quita, that's right. And police say that earlier shooting happened on board another bus. This one was near the UT campus around 1:30 in the morning.
This guy runs up while somebody is sitting there reading a book, according to witnesses, beats him from behind, stomps his head in so bad the person's in a coma, fighting for their life. And the female police chief goes and basically tackles this guy. That's how bad crime is in Austin. You know where the CIA tunes in, right? You know where the Russians tune in? You know everybody tunes in, right? You know who Tucker Carlson tunes into, and Joe Rogan, and Elon Musk? You know where they tune in, right? They tune in right here.
Welcome to the show. We're having a technical difficulty. All right, we got a little technical difficulty. All right, here we are. Right here, John. See it? See it? Right there, that arrow. Okay. Stand by. Just give us a second. Little training moment. We got to get it right. So, pull it down. Okay. This is the one for video. Right here. See it, John? This is the one for the screen. And this is the one if you just want me up. Okay. Okay. Got it? All right. Welcome to the show. Look, hold on a second. I'm doing 10 things at once. Thank you for being here. It is, man, it's March 20th, 2026. And I don't know if you've seen what's going on in the world, but it is not cool. It's not cool. Anyway, I got my buddy Ben here. He's been here quite a few times. Thank you for being here, Ben.
What's happening?
We've had a hell of a start. I couldn't get. It's just always something, right? It's always something. So instead of me giving you the sob story about why we didn't start on time, it's one thing after another after another. I do this by myself. Still working on getting some help, and I think I got some people lined up and nailed down to help. But, just real quick while we get started, Energy Department begins delivering SPR barrels at record speed. 45 million barrels of crude oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve Exchange. Oil delivers commerce today. Yeah, well, so now they're using our reserve because, they're blowing shit up in places that we shouldn't be blowing up. Anyway, we're going to get into all that later. Ben, tell everybody who you are and a little bit about yourself. Get that mic up to you, though, so I can hear you. If I can hear you, they can hear you.
You hear me?
I can hear you.
All right. No, my name's Ben Langlow, small business owner here in Orangeville, and glad to be on the show.
Yeah, I love it.
Put my 2 cents in what I see happening, and
a lot
go
to
from
see.
there.
It is a lot to see, and we got my son on the screen. We're gonna have him. He's gonna work on producing the show for us, and we're gonna do what we can. So you're gonna work with us a little bit. It might be a little clunky, but hey, we're gonna get to some stuff that's gonna, hopefully, you're paying attention because you'll either shit yourself or you'll be like, I cannot believe it could be this bad this fast. But I'll just say, they're talking about in the next months, not years, months, that all around the world there's going to be famine because of the trains that were blown up. And they're not choo-choo trains, by the way. They're oil trains. On tip of my tongue, I'll think of it in a second here. I hate when that happens too.
Iran?
No, it's not. It's not Iran. It's Qatar. So Iran blew up 2 trains in Qatar, and 17% of the crude oil in the Middle East, and that is going to throw shock waves all across the world because of that. So we're going to get into that in a little bit. We got a few things to get to before that, and I want to say thank you for being here. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please do that. Please leave a give a like or whatever, depending on what platform you're on. Leave a comment. Do all that stuff. Get the algorithm going so that we could get more people to the show. We really do appreciate it. It costs nothing to like the show or subscribe to the channel on any of the different platforms. We're on Rumble, Getter, Twitter or X, and YouTube. I think we're on Twitch and Kick as well. We're getting a kick out of Kick because we're going to see how long it takes them to take me off here. So far so good. We've been on here a couple weeks. So anyway, I think what's happened right now is with the exception of TikTok, I've had like 4 strikes in a week. That's how they do. You can't talk about anything. It's almost like you have to be super censored to go on TikTok. But whatever. Don't say Israel. I'm warning you. You say anything about Israel, they just take you down. Anyway. Thank you for being here. What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? We're gonna get into some stuff like, did you know that there is a big court case going on right now about the voter integrity, and it's huge right now, and it's not getting talked about because it's been overshadowed by, Epstein files. It's been overshadowed by Iran war, and it's been all these different Charlie Kirk's getting killed or murdered, assassinated. All the things, the TPUSA changing their stripes, and all the different things that's going on. These few things that are pretty important are getting lost in the shuffle. I played a video last week, and we'll play it again tonight, or parts of it, about how the NSA, or no, DNI, excuse me, DNI seized machines, voter machines, and there's this big investigation on it, and the Democrats are trying to get as much information as they can about the fact that they've seized these machines, but they didn't want to talk about the machines when they were in their storage. But now that they've went and seized them, now they're all in an uproar about the machines, because what's going to happen is they're going to find out, or they have found out, I'm sure, about the truth about the machines and how they have direct connection. They have phone modems in them, direct connection to Wi-Fi. And that's how they've done this. And that's one of the reasons why they grabbed Maduro, because remember, Venezuela was where all of our votes had been being counted for years and years and years. And so that was part of that whole thing that went down. And, if you listen to the black pillars, sometimes I'm getting a little black pilled here and there. I'm just going to be honest. I'm going to tell you the truth. There's certain areas that I'm like, what the, because it's like, you can't, it's impossible to not get a little bent and twisted when you see some of the stuff that's going on from the Trump administration. And so anyway, point being, Gabbard was at one of the hearings last couple of days, and they were talking about the machines, and trying to pry for information, because what they do is they will go, hey, but what about this? I mean, was there a fly on the wall on this day, such to get you to say yes, and then they'll file some kind of lawsuit against you about that, and then take it from you, so you can't do the work that you need to do to find out what you need to find out, because they're slick. They're very slick about it. So anyway, Peter Timpkin was on Alex Jones last week, and he was talking about this. And we've had, several other people talking about the machines and the truth about the 2020 election. And this has been going on for a very long time, but they kind of exposed their hand in 2020 because they were so bold how they operated, the way they stole that election. I mean, it was extremely bold the way they did that, pulling ballots out from empty tables, bringing tractor trailer full of ballots only for Biden, all the things that happened. Well, it's all come to the surface now, and it's really the only hope that we have, because Trump has done such a horrible job at keeping keeping the Republicans on top with this war and all the Epstein files and all this bullshit, that he has just constantly stepped on his dick over and over and over. And I'm like, dude, we all did everything we possibly could, from prayer to going out in the streets to having interviews and mics and all the stuff to get Trump elected this time. And he really has shown kind of like deceit or disrespect, or however you want to put it. He really has with some of the things that he's done, because he promised us no new wars. And the majority of the people, I don't care what a Fox poll or a CNN poll or whatever poll says. I don't believe that 80-something% of Republicans believe that this Iran war was a good idea, because gas right now, I got gas yesterday. I checked in, it was $5.25 last Friday. This Friday, it was $5.65. So, I mean, it's going up pretty fast here in California. So, and that's for regular. Diesel's like $6.25 because the dollar more. Remember when diesel was a dollar cheaper?
Yep.
Yeah, that boat sailed. Anyway, what do you want to say about what I've talked about so far before we get into this?
I'm not super well versed in this. I am curious to find out, because I do understand, and I'm not necessarily for going to war.
Sure.
I do feel that there are times when that's kind of out of control.
Yeah.
It's out of someone's control. I mean, it's not what anyone wanted to happen. Is it necessary? A little bit that I've seen, I would think it would be.
Yeah.
There's, and like I said, these are just things that I think I know. I don't necessarily know the full story. I think that there's a lot of bullshit that's getting smeared around.
Sure.
And it's clouding. It is clouding the issues. We have, yes, the voter integrity, all of that. Yes, that should be up at the top.
Yeah, I agree.
The things that are going on with our economy, yes, that should be up at the top. And it's extremely frustrating for someone like me right now, because in truth, I mean, I'll level with you. My feelings on the Epstein, the whole Epstein thing, unless people are going to be going to jail for it, it needs to get pushed out of the front. Because from what I've seen right now is there's allegations and fingers pointing, and this person was in there, and that person was in there, and we're bringing them all in, and really there hasn't been jack shit that's been done. And
do you think anybody's going to get arrested?
I doubt it.
Any indictments?
I doubt it.
Do you think the Rothschilds or
No.
Edward
And-
Barack or any of the Bill Clinton or Bill Gates or any host of do you think that what the fuck is his name Lutnick's going to get arrested or
No.
kicked out of the White House? I
No.
mean,
and
no.
And it's as far as what the Epstein trials mean to this, as they concern Trump, it's really it's a load of shit, because I think anyone who's got any common sense would know that if they were sitting on these files for all of these years, and they have done anything and everything they possibly could do to keep Trump out of the White House,
yeah,
but they didn't use info they had in the Epstein. It's smoke.
Yeah, like
And
like some kind of a leak, because they
Yeah.
come up with leaks all the time,
And
right?
and the problem with that is then we get back into the media. So the media wants to push this. They push they push the Epstein trial and all of this, and it doesn't mean shit. We've got a lot going on that's a whole lot more important than that. As far as how what's gonna affect us.
Right.
Now, do I think that should be in the background? Do I think it should be getting investigated? Yes, I do. I think the people that are, found guilty, I think they should be going to jail. I don't have real high hopes they will be,
Right.
but that's just my take on it. And
It's a pretty good take, though.
I just I would like to see more time spent on the issues that really are important to us from this point moving forward. You know, what's the Iran conflict. There's huge coverage on that, and you know, from what I've seen, you don't hear a lot about it. You hear a lot of headlines, but you don't hear a lot about what's actually going on. You have one side screaming that it's horrible. You have other people saying that it's necessary, and really, there's not a lot of substance within that.
Right.
You know.
Well, let's see if we can put some of that to rest tonight.
Great.
And we're gonna start though with some, you know, just we're gonna table though the we're gonna table all of that for a minute, and we're gonna get started the only way I know how to get started, and that's the best way I could think of, considering most of the time when I do this research, I want to grab my screen by the neck because it's so frustrating, some of the shit that I run across and see different things and all this stuff, and you know, all the people, and you know, this one pointing that one and this and that and all this stuff, and this guy did this and that person did that, and then you look at it and common sense tells you what it is, and you just want to like scream. So anyway, so Mr. Producer, we want to do 3A first, please. Not even going to tell you what it is. We're just going to play it, and then we'll talk about it on the other side. Three A. No. The other one. Sorry. That one. Yes, sir. Double click it.
Stan, here's how to tell when you're in a PSYOP. According to behavioral expert Chase Hughes, there's 3 characteristics to look for to tell if you're in a PSYOP. And you have to spot the characteristics because they never tell you this is a PSYOP. Obviously, because then it wouldn't work. The 3 characteristics that tell you when you are in a PSYOP are, number 1, there's a silencing mechanism. Number 2, there's a strong narrative. And number 3, they create tribalism. Let's break it down because this is fun. Number 1, the silencing mechanism is a means to silence opposing ideas, aka the truth. Truth needs to be censored because PSYOPs are never on the side of truth, because truth doesn't need a PSYOP. Truth is self-evident and therefore is strong enough to stand on its own 2 legs. So for example, a silencing mechanism could look like abolishing the First Amendment rights of Americans to silence anti-Israel sentiment. Like that.
20 years imprisonment for Americans participating in boycotts of Israel.
It can also look like silencing through intimidation. So that's also what the Twitter of one of God's chosen people happens to look like, apparently. Number 2, the strong narrative component of a PSYOP. That phrase is repeated obnoxiously often, usually in defiance to reality and your common sense. An example of how that can sound is maybe like, Israel is our greatest ally. How? We're not taking questions right now. Number 3, the tribalism component of a PSYOP. This is beautiful because this is meant to threaten your deep human need to have a sense of belonging. If you don't straighten up and fall in line, you're out of the tribe. An example of how that can look is, well, this. Those who speak ill of Mark will quickly fall by the wayside. They are not MAGA. So, even though all the components of a PSYOP to perpetuate Israel's interests are present, assembled, and active here in America, I don't know if we're in a PSYOP. I mean, it's just really hard to tell. Now let's bring it home with this question. Does Israel control the U.S.? Answer, no. It appears Zionism controls the U.S., and Zionism controls Israel. The demonic heart of Zionism seems to reside more in Israel, so on the surface, it very much looks like Israel controls the U.S. And that can explain why Trump has drastically changed and his support is vanished. But Israel and the U.S. are just symptoms of a common thread, the political ideology of Zionism, a virus that's infiltrated and probably helped create the government of Israel, and now the U.S. government is largely occupied by the same virus. For the record, that virus wasn't created in a lab. It's created in some place worse. In conclusion, as you know, something has clearly happened. Something has clearly changed. And it probably wasn't you. It was the people that you supported and what controls and influences them. That's what's changed. Once upon a time, it seemed as though what controlled Trump was the will of we the people. He now seems to be acting in service to something very different. And when things get crazy, even satanic, you're told that you're the problem if you speak up. Don't fall for it. You're not the problem because you didn't change. If you see the dramatic change, the time to speak up is now.
And I believe that if we don't speak up now, that our children won't have the chance to speak up.
Have a good night, and I appreciate you watching. Jason, give me my bulletproof vest. I'm going for a walk.
Yeah, and so what better way to get started, right? Is to start with comedy that with a little, just a tiny bit of truth, but it might just be a joke. It might all be fun. It's just fun, right? Israel is not running nothing, and we're all in just a propaganda lie or whatever. Anyway, so I wanted to do that because, and JP puts it out in a way where it's fun, but he brings the point across to where you're like, that's funny, but it's fucking true.
Yeah, it is.
And that's the problem that we have is, one, there's not enough comedy in the world. You're not even allowed to do that anymore. You do that shit, you're a Nazi.
Yeah.
So anyway, Mark Levin. So we're not done. We're gonna check and see if we're in a psyop, because it's very possible that all of this is a psyop, or maybe we're all Nazis. 3A, John.
Pete, Rubio, yeah, everybody. That's right, folks. It's a cabal of all of us who couldn't have been more pro-conservatism. Thank you, Brendan Dilley. Bingo. That's a mother who gets it right there. Thank you, Dilley of the Dilley Show, who's been talking about this forever. It's bullshit. So they go after, why do you, all of a sudden, these people who used to ask me to speak at conferences, it's not boo-hoo. I signed up for this and I love being in the chaos. I adore it. I was born for this shit. People used to ask me to speak at their conferences, their libertarian conferences. You doubt me? Go look. I was at some of them. The second I got in there, I was in there 5 minutes. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Nothing's happening. Really? That's kind of strange. 5 minutes ago, you wanted me to endorse your book. So weird. I have the emails. I choose not to put them out there because I don't want to do Candace Owens. People communicate with me. I'm trying to do my best to not put stuff out there. Sometimes, unfortunately, it's necessary. You don't think I've got receipts too? They want to take over MAGA. They have to diminish Donald Trump, but they can't take him off on directly. So they take out and attack every single person around him. And they say, these people are awful. We're not really saying anything about Donald Trump, but he's just dumb up there. He don't know what he's doing. It's just the gatekeepers. And they don't even say that. It's like, oh, he's being misled. Put it in X and look for yourself. Second, now we're going to go through this Joe Kent video with Tucker yesterday. It's about 3 minutes, but we're going to stop it quite a bit because I'm going to show you with receipts coming up at the end, and I'm going to tell you how he is a liar. And you're going to see bare ass and all gatekeeper theory here. Gatekeeper theory, number one. And number two, the hidden knowledge scam, which I just described in the beginning of the show. I've got this hidden knowledge, yet I was in a position of power, and all of a sudden, like, I don't have the answers, but I'm just asking questions. But you're asking questions you have no way. If you know something, say it, mother. Just say it. I said everything to you on camera. Some of you didn't like it. We got elected to go and open the books. We opened the books, and I told you what was there. Some of it sucked. Some of it wasn't the answer you wanted. But motherfucker, I told you the truth. I told you the truth. These people are full of shit because there's clicks in it. And the Jews and Pete did it, or Todd did it, or Cash did it, or Bongino did it. I told you the truth. At great.
Okay, so let's open me up here, buddy. Oh, yeah. Look at this. Look. Bongino, you think that all the stuff that we're talking about is for clicks? You went to the FBI, you was there 9 months. At the top, you was running the FBI. 0 arrests for the things that are important. Election fraud, Epstein files, Butler shooting, Charlie Kirk shooting, murder, assassination. Told us that there was nothing in the Epstein files, nothing. I could sit here right now and go through document after document after document after document. We could do it all month. And I could just stay here online all for a month and just read email after email after email after email of all the corruption that is within just the administration, the people that are around Trump. So you're telling me that you did and you didn't lie when you was up there? You look like somebody, you seen a ghost when you was up there with Cash Patel and you guys said that there was nothing in the Epstein files? Is that what you're going to say? Because that's what you're saying right now on your podcast, Mr. God Pod Boss, or whatever you call yourself. That's the truth. Now, if you want to let us know the truth about what you was told that you couldn't say or something, we know you're not going to do that because you got an NDA, I'm sure. But when you think about it, let's be clear. You came out on national TV, on your Fox News, and you told us the Epstein files had nothing in there, that Epstein trafficked to nobody, and Ghislaine Maxwell trafficked to nobody. But yet when we forced the DOJ to put out the files, it's covered with things that happened, along with all the whistleblowers and the victims and all that stuff. So what are you saying right now? Just let us know what you mean, because maybe you're saying something else, or maybe you have amnesia or something. And the other question I have, and we're going to get back to the show, but I'm just saying this directly to you, Bongino. Did you come back just to run interference? Because that's what it seems like. You're just back at your podcast that went from the first day, 3 or 4 million, by within a week, you were down to under, 500,000 viewers. I don't know. You tell us. I speak for everybody in America First. I speak for us all. And you can ask anybody that is doing what I'm doing right here, and they're going to tell you the same thing. What are you talking about? Who's really full of shit? All right? All right. Just need to say that. Thank you for letting me say that. All right. So that shit pisses me off. I'm just going to say it. That pisses me off that he's been coming out for the last, I don't know, he's been back a month or two, and that's what he does every day, talking shit about this person, that person, this one's wrong. Oh, that one's a red, black pill, this, that. And why can't you just come out and say, hey, I know things I can't say because I have an NDA and I'm not allowed to talk about it, and it was horrible, and let it go. But instead, you're going to come in here on your, what do you call himself? What the hell do you call himself now? I'm not going to be able to let this one go. Pod Boss or
Yeah, something like that.
Podfather. I think it was Podfather, something like Podfather, some shit like that. Anyway, my point is that irks me because you know what? We put Trump in office. We put you in there, actually. We was cheering for you and Kash Patel to go in there and close the FBI down, turn it into a museum. Remember that? Remember all that stuff that Kash Patel was saying? That's what we wanted. We wanted action. And I get it. The deep state's not going to let you do anything except for what they tell you to do. And I'm sure what happened is your briefing right when you got there is they said, they probably told you that this is where we're at. This is what we're doing. And if you don't go with it, you'll be like the last fucking people that were here that didn't do what we said, and they don't breathe anymore, or they come up missing. We know, but you can't say that, right? So you're going to come out every day and you're going to talk shit to everybody, Trump's base that's pissed off because he got in a war that he said he wasn't going to get in. Just saying. Anyway, all right, we're going to move on. Did I get it all out?
I hope so.
Do I need to
You need a moment?
call my therapist? All right. So I mean, it's fucking crazy. All right. So so since we're not ready to start talking about the war, let's talk about this. Peter Tickton was on Alex Jones last week, and he was talking about the machines and the smoking gun, about the voting machines and stuff like that. So we're going to play that, and then I got a couple more around this. And then, we're going to talk about, we're going to get to this other part where Hillary is praising Trump. Hillary Clinton is praising Trump. So that tells you everything you need to know about what's going on in the administration. When fucking Hillary Clinton is saying how great Trump is, you know something's wrong. Okay? You know it. Okay? So give us 3 straight up, John. 3. Right there. Thank you, sir.
They keep saying Trump should declare an emergency, cancel the election, because I know he's been looking at this, which is to standardize and protect the election. He has executive power. They've been pre-demonizing this because they're so scared of it. Start over and explain this.
Okay. All right. Let's just say China started to come over to the United States to take over power in the United States, and they're shooting guns. They're shooting bullets at us. Obviously, that would be an emergency. And obviously, the president doesn't need anybody's permission to start doing whatever is necessary to do to make sure that we don't become defeated. Right now, China's doing the same thing, except they're not using bullets. They're doing it surreptitiously through voting machines. They're taking over our country. So this is the same kind of an emergency. You don't need bullets necessarily. Bullets aren't a necessary factor to have an emergency. There's all kinds of emergencies. There's
Well,
no
it's even
bullets when you
worse
have a
because
hurricane.
it's stealth and it's now confirmed.
It's confirmed. We know for a fact. This is no longer a theory. I mean, it's always been an understanding that there was a high probability that this would happen. But now that we have Martinez's, I'm sorry, his first name is Weston Martinez's documents that he got from the county that basically gave him the list. And by the way, he got the same list the next day, but it was all doctored. The next day, it was a different number. The voters were different. But the first day, they hadn't fixed it yet. They gave him the list with the modified duplicates on it.
Incredible.
Those are the people that voted. So, it's in play.
And that's in San Antonio, Texas. I saw that. This is smoking gun. Just like you said 4 years ago, 5 years ago, with the evidence you already had. They create duplicates of real people, then they can vote as much as they want with that person. We found that in Michigan as well, all over. And now this candidate gets it. They're lazy. Give them the actual list that they ran in the computer according to law, and it's the proof of this.
We've had 3 states. We've had Texas, Arkansas, and North Carolina, where we had primaries last week. And there's a fellow, what's his name? Martinez. I'll think of his first name. I keep forgetting his first name. But anyway, He was running in Bear County. It's called Bear County, but it's spelled Bexar. Don't ask me why they don't pronounce the X, but anyway, that's what it is. In Bear County, he was running for election, and he asked for a list of the people that had voted, which you're entitled to. There's nothing wrong with getting it. They gave it to him. And the list had all the duplicates on it. Okay. We have a smoking gun.
Wow.
That the machines are in play. And this is why this is so important. In fact, in Bear County now, the candidate that won the primary for the Republicans is a left-winger who's totally woke and in favor of DEI. I mean, that's what we got there. So they put their candidate into our party to be our candidate.
Total
So
Trojan
they don't
horse
even have to
operation
worry.
again. You have the list showing the multiple names being duplicated, stealing the election. Incredible.
Okay. Director, the ODNI has confirmed on the record that your office took custody of voting machines from Puerto Rico last May. I'm not aware of any previous DNI taking similar actions. Did your office promptly notify the committee about taking custody of Puerto Rico's voting machines?
I don't believe we did. However, this was done at the request of the Puerto Rico AUSA attorney.
Ma'am, it's a
and
yes
in
or no
conjunction with
question.
the
The answer,
FBI.
as you have acknowledged, is no. You did not inform the committee about the taking of a territory's voting machines. Is there a specific foreign threat? And I've read the reporting that you were looking for possible foreign threats, but is there a specific foreign threat that drove you to take this action?
There were questions about whether or not there were vulnerabilities that a threat could have taken advantage of, and that was the purpose for their requesting us to look into those vulnerabilities.
Where are those voting machines now?
I believe they are held in a secure facility at ODNI.
Have you or other ODNI officials taken any other state or territory's voting equipment into custody?
Not to my knowledge.
Yeah, so smoking gun. They said that there was no possible way that there was any problems with the machines and all that stuff, and then they go, oh, well, we'll give you a sample, right? You know, they're saying we'll give you a sample, and the sample had the duplicates. And then, you know, and the reason why I played that behind that is because you hear the Democrat, he's trying to get her to say something.
He wants to know what else she has.
Yeah. What else is underneath that rock there you got? Is it just a squirrel, or is there a
I want
rabbit
to be
too?
able to get ahead of this.
Yes, they are, because, you know, so the truth is, this is the truth that I found out over the years of doing this, is with the voting thing. And I have one more, and it goes with the clip that we just played, the DNI clip, but I want to talk about this first. What I found out was doing back research is back in the 70s or 80s or 90s, back then, the theft was coming from the Republicans. The Republicans were doing all the stealing. Back then, we were all Democrats. My family were all Democrats. My mom, my dad, you know, everybody was Democrats because Democrats were against war. They were against, you know, heavy spending and all that stuff. And as the shift happened, so did the who's stealing the votes.
Yeah,
right?
it's just a change name.
It's just change, right? And so, there's a few clips when we get through this that you'll hear people talk in generalization like that. Was like for instance, Chuck Norris. I have a clip of old Chuck, rest in peace. And he, make sure I have it. I think I have it. He says, they ask him, why are you a conservative? And he's like, well, because I was a Democrat my whole life until they started, you know, tearing down the country. So I became a Republican because, you know, conservative, because conservatives care about, you know, not spending and blah, 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 all that stuff. And so I thought that was pretty interesting. And I don't have the clip. Sucks, because I really wanted to do something for Chuck Norris. Maybe I have to. I'm sure I have it. I just missed it, so I have to go back and pull it while we're doing one of the long ones. But
Well,
so
and that's one of the big problems that we're running into today. So, like for example, me is I have family that is hard left, hard Democrat.
Yeah.
Right. They're older, and you look. I look at it, and it's like I talk to these people one on one personally.
Sure.
You know, I'm fairly close with them, and their values, there's not a problem.
Right.
As long as politics doesn't come into the issue, if we talk about values and how we think ideals, how things should work,
Yeah.
we're all in agreement. And then the minute it comes to politics, as far as which side are you going to vote, they look at you like you've lost your mind.
Absolutely.
And I just it's extremely frustrating because it really comes down to, it always reminds me of sports fans, you know, and it's like one of them, he's a huge sports fan, and he loves the Giants, hates the Dodgers, right? No matter what. And it's like, you know what, when we're dealing with politics and we're dealing with our future, how this country is going to move, this is not sports. This is not your sports team, you know, but it's that, you know, that blue no matter who and all this other stuff. And
Right.
and it's like, no. This whole thing is a little bit more nuanced than that.
Yeah.
And I really wonder if sometimes, just, you know, the fact is that the nation's gotten lazy. You know,
Yeah, I agree.
Don't want to think for yourself. You'd rather
Right.
just go along, and it's like, okay, well, this is the team I picked, and this is who I'm going with, no matter what. And we get to do that and watch our country go right down the toilet.
And it's way, and as we go, we're going to get into this, and yeah. So this is very. You think about your grandson,
Mhm.
and I think about my son, right? Sounds so weird that you have a grandson and I have a son that are young, but you know what? Hey, I'm a
Hey.
stud. I'm still a stud. Anyway, point. Stay on point here. I worry about what we're leaving for them.
Right.
And what we're leaving for them is not good.
No.
Central bank digital currency, let's just that alone
Right.
is enough they'll never own nothing. They don't want you to own anything. You know what I mean?
And the problem is the reality is we're already there.
Yeah, we're there.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, we're there. I was really hoping, and I've been super optimistic about this whole thing. Trump's going to get into office. So much good stuff is going to happen. It's really going to we're going to, come out of this and everything's going to be back to white picket fence. And, the first couple of months he was just killing it. And I was like, man, this is great. And then I don't know what happened. I think once Elon Musk got kicked out of the White House, that's when it started going downhill. That's what I think. Hold on, stand by.
Let me take you back to 2020. So there was an executive order issued by President Obama, and then President Trump continued it about the whole issue of potential or actual foreign election interference. So a report was called for. If I'm remembering correctly, the due date for that report was something like December 18th, 2020. And that report never arrived on time. It was slow walked by the intelligence community that predated Tulsi Gabbard coming in to head it up. And indeed, it was not issued until either just before President Trump left office or just after. And it indicated that, well, first of all, I should say the careerists in the intelligence agencies said there was no significant foreign election interference, but there were essentially two dissents from that view. One was the ODNI director at the time, John Radcliffe, said that there was evidence of foreign election interference that was at least as significant as happened in 2016. And you'll remember that the Democrats went crazy about purported Russian interference back in 2016, and a lot of it was based on the fact that they were engaged in social media operations that were actually relatively small in terms of the amount of funding dedicated to them. What happened in 2020, though, was that there were actual attempts to probe into election databases, voter rolls, and the like, and that's discussed in the report. So Radcliffe dissented from the view. Now, I think it's very odd. Why is the head of the intelligence community dissenting from what the intelligence community says? That, to me, is an indication that they didn't have a handle on the intelligence community. But there was also another dissent by the ombudsman, who also thought that the majority of the intelligence community were underplaying what had happened. And one of the actors that was involved was not just China, but also Iran. And so there were efforts to get into the U.S. Election system, and that was just pushed off until after the election was largely a done deal in 2020, and President Trump needed to fly away from the White House on January 20th, and Joe Biden came in. And I think that was all very strategic because they recognized that if the American people knew what John Radcliffe and the ombudsman were saying in terms of what had happened in 2020 with foreign nations, that they would have gotten outraged and they would have demanded more investigation. And so President Trump knows these things. President Trump put Tulsi Gabbard in. And of course, you can try to talk about the line between domestic and foreign, but it's obvious that if our domestic elections are being corrupted in some form by foreign interference, that is a serious issue that the director of national intelligence, who's now Tulsi Gabbard, should be involved in. And so the fact that she was on site as an observer and she was hearing, firsthand about what was happening as the warrant was being executed, that is not remarkable at all. And the warrant that was executed there is exactly what I wanted to do back in 2020. And officials who were running the department at the time, the acting attorney general and the so-called PAYDAG, his number two at the time, they did not want to do any further investigations of Fulton County. They said that they had done all the investigations that needed to be done, but actually at my bar trial, Brianna, they admitted that they did not investigate all of the testimony that came out from Georgia State Senator Ligon. He had, hundreds of affidavits. He had live testimony of all sorts of things going wrong in Fulton County and base corruption. And the Justice Department at that time, based on who was leading it, did not investigate that. And so President Trump turned that around. The Attorney General, the Deputy Attorney General turned that around, and they got a warrant, and they've seized the ballots. And it's also my understanding, I know you've had him on the program, my own personal lawyer, Harry McDougald, he tells me that there are boxes that they didn't find. So there's still, lots of question marks about this, but it's clear that as a basic investigatory step, you need to look at those ballots in Fulton County. It's amazing to me that 4+ years have gone by and we've only recently got them. And the left, led by Norm Eisen again, led by Abby Lowell, they're desperately trying to claw those documents back, even though the county had represented that they wanted to destroy the ballots. So, they didn't have any use for them if they could get rid of them, get rid of the evidence. But as soon as the feds want the evidence, then magically they want it back and they want to keep it. They want to hoard it. And what does that tell you? It tells you that probably where there's smoke, there's fire.
I'm holding in my hands two
All right, here we are. All right. I didn't realize that was had an ad behind it. All right, so lot in that clip there.
Yeah,
there's a lot there. So Jeff Clark is one of the many people that were completely ravished during the 2020 and on as a lawyer, and was removed from his position at the White House because of some allegations that were not true about 2020 election, saying that he was, stealing, votes or, whatever. And, he was in DNI working on this. That's what he's talking about, working on the voter rolls, the illegal vote from 2020 and before and after. The thing about 2024, there was votes that were stolen from,
Yeah.
but the vote was so overwhelming because so many people voted for Trump. They couldn't. There was
Right.
not enough
They
for them
couldn't
to
do
steal.
anything.
They
Yeah.
couldn't. There was not enough dead people and illegal aliens and all that stuff to
Overturn it.
to overturn it, right? And what happened was, and we've covered this before, and this is insider stuff. I'm not an insider, but this is an insider thing. Just before the vote on election day, they went in and blew up the place that in Venezuela or whatever, or some little town in Venezuela where the vote was happening, where they steal the vote. They blew it up the day of the election, so they didn't have an opportunity to they took it offline.
Yeah.
And that was the only reason why they weren't able to do the vote stealing thing through that hub, because they took it out.
Okay.
CIA took it out, right? And so we've talked about that before, and I played several clips on it earlier on months ago. But this is what they do is they have let's say 10 things. There's 25 or 30, but let's say there's 10 different things that they do, and they do a little here, a little there, a little there, a little there, and then it overwhelms the vote to where they do some machine stuff, they do some illegal ballots, they do some mail-in ballots that are fraudulent. Grandma's been
It's like
dead for
whack-a-mole. You don't get them all.
grandma's been dead for 10 or 20 years. People with birth dates from the 1800s, all kinds of stuff, and they've proven it. But the thing about what happened was during 2020 is because it never had been a thing. They didn't have standing, so no judge would pick it up. And besides, all the Democratic judges are corrupt anyway, but they wouldn't pick it up. If they could have got somebody in court to just look at, because they wouldn't even look at the evidence. They won't. They just like, there's no standing, and drop it. And they had hundreds of these cases, probably thousands, but hundreds of these cases that were like that. And they go in front of a judge, and they'd say, nope, you don't have standing. And then they'd sue the attorney that brought the paperwork to that court. Jeff was one of them, and they sent him to the bar. He almost lost his license, or he may have lost his license. I don't know, but that's what they do. Or they bankrupt you like they did Mike Lindell, because he was like, these machines need to be melted down and turned into prison bars and put Hillary Clinton in there. Or whatever. Just that's the way it was. So I think that if we could just, because when you think about the deep state is so huge. They call it the deep state. They call it the uniparty. They call it these are the forever people, the people that the stay behind networks. They are always there. Presidents come and go, senators come and go. Well, that's funny because they, some of them have been here, they're 60 years, but senators, they all come and go, lobbyists come and go. But these people, like Susan Rice and people like that, they've been in the White House or in the administration for 30 years. They're the ones that are running the show. Right. It's not the presidents and the senators and all this stuff. It's the people that stay behind networks that run the whole thing. And I never knew this. It was shocking to me. When I found out how it actually operates, I was like, oh, so when you say that you want to go in and you want to take out the deep state, you're really going after the forever people, the people that have been there for 30, 40 years. And you have to, it's like the FBI. The FBI is so corrupt. We know this now. The FBI is so corrupt. And if you don't get rid of the first 5 or 6 tiers going downward from the top down, doesn't matter, because the next corrupt person would just step up into it, right? Because how can you, and that's been the problem with all this corruption is you cut one arm off and 2 more grow.
That's the problem with everything right now.
It's horrible.
especially in government.
Yeah, that's exactly
and
it.
that's and this is where when I was talking earlier about people getting wound up about what side of the aisle you're on.
Yeah.
It's like,
Bring us in a little bit.
this is
Bring it in a little bit, too.
not, the fight isn't, Republican versus Democrat.
Oh, absolutely not.
It's not.
way
I mean,
past
we're basically, the fight is for us to be able to continue to live our lives, as we do here
Yeah.
in the U.S. We do have certain freedoms. We have the freedom to be able to dictate how we're going to direct our life, all these things, and
Normally.
and
Yeah.
they still give us the illusion of that.
Uh-huh.
But that's where it's exactly what you're talking about. There's a term, they call it wag the dog, which is the
Yeah.
tail wagging the dog.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what's going on there.
Yeah.
It's
horrible.
But, like I was talking about earlier, it's like a sporting match to them. And the easiest way to do it, said a million times, but if you can get people divided into two teams and you're fighting that team, you're not paying attention to what's actually happening, because a lot of the stuff that's coming down, I truly believe, is manufactured.
Uh-huh. A lot of it is.
And the reality is they really don't care if, like he's talking about the election interference and everything that's going on with the computers, and they're finding all this evidence. They don't really care, because they know half of us are going to believe it. The other half, because the team that they're on,
Yeah.
are going to think that it's a complete joke and not true.
Mm-hmm.
They get the two of them to fight against each other. They don't pay attention that, hey, like you said, okay, well, they caught this one. We've got 4 other ways that we can do this,
Yeah.
and we can just keep this show going.
Yeah.
And
they're all on the same team, by the way.
And they are all on the same team, and they do not care. And we'll talk more about this later, but
Yeah. Well, we have a long way to go. We're not going very fast. So, John, play. This is a same but different topic. Go right there. Yeah. Play 3B.
I will not
Lauren
vote for
Boebert.
a war supplemental. No, I am a no. I've already told leadership I am a no on any war supplementals. I am so tired of spending money elsewhere. I am tired of the industrial war complex getting all of our hard-earned tax dollars. I have folks in Colorado who can't afford to live. We need America First policies right now, and that I'm not doing that. We need the Save America Act, FISA with warrants. There's a lot of hard lines that I have right now, and we've got to get our act together if we want to keep this majority. And the path that we're going doesn't look very promising.
Should the administration get out of Iran?
That's up to the president.
Bring us back, Jay. All right. So Boebert's one of the. I mean, I don't know. You hear all the smoke and mirrors about who's right, who's this, who's that, all that. But Marjorie Taylor Greene's gone. There's been a lot that left because they're like, Trump did her dirty. MTG totally did her dirty. She was a Trumper, rallies, all that stuff. Spent her own money, all that stuff, and then Trump started talking shit about her, and she was like, "I'm out." This is happening a lot. And they're talking about the SAVE Act. They're talking, which would, if the SAVE Act could be enacted, it would help a lot because there would you'd have to have an ID,
right?
Proof of who you are. That would help. You know what I mean? So we'll see what happens. We'll see. I want to move on though, because we could talk about stolen elections from here until next year and barely touch the surface. So, you got this war going on, and you got this high alert at airports. Check out what Houston Airport looks like. The TSA line. It was like an hour and 50-minute wait just to get through TSA. 2 hours. Oh yeah, 2 hours. Go ahead, 3C, John. It's a short clip, but check it out.
This is all the TSA line. The line where you get your ID and boarding pass checked is all the way up there. It comes around here, all the way around, all the way around, all the way around. It snakes through here, but then you have to take the escalator over there down to the baggage claim downstairs, and that's how you end up down here. Right now, according to that board, it says that the wait is 150 minutes. Not sure if that's accurate.
150 minutes, almost 3 hours.
Yeah.
Yes, that's TSA for you. No, and that's because the high alert. That's Houston, Texas. So,
Well, and this may sound ignorant of me too, but Texas is getting gotten overrun with Muslim.
absolutely, among other things. Yes,
Yeah,
but yeah, for sure.
and that'll get into what obviously.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any way of avoiding talking about Iran at some point, but
No, we're heading there. We're getting there. Next, it's coming up. We're going to do Charlie Kirk first, though.
All right.
But before we do, I want to play. Can you tell me why Hillary Clinton would come out and say that Trump is his presidency this time is better than it's been than the first? Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
Evil ass Hillary Clinton. Go ahead and play it, John. 3E.
I think all of that is a very good signal that there is beginning to be a better understanding, both by the president and the people around him, as well as by the leaders of our European allies, that there can be common ground amongst us. And the kind of dismissiveness that we saw in the first Trump administration has been replaced by a much more obvious working relationship to the good of European security, transatlantic security, and hopefully Ukrainian security. So I'm actually encouraged.
Okay. Yeah, I want to talk about Hillary Clinton for a minute. So we know that they're in the Epstein files, major in the Epstein files. So, and this is one of the things that I just don't understand about Trump. I'm not afraid to talk shit about Trump right now. I'm just not. I mean, it's just I've been pom-poms and everything. I mean, and and I just am not there right now. And I want to say the things that he done that's good. I want to praise him for that, absolutely. But the shit that he's done that's bad, it just gets under my skin so bad, especially when I have family members that are Democrats and they have TDS, that Trump derangement syndrome, and they're constantly attempting to get me to do stuff like have a debate with them or argue, and I won't, because my wife, I'm on a gag order. I'm not allowed to talk about Trump at all because I know too much and I could smoke them and I don't, and with this kind of stuff, I'm just like, because you know what they're saying right now. I knew it. He was a fucking pedophile and all that stuff, right? And so the Hillary Clinton thing. I get off the reservation really fast. So we know that they're in the Epstein files. Trump came out last month talking about that he felt really bad that everybody, the conservative movement, was going after Bill Clinton.
Right.
And Bill Clinton's been to the Epstein Island 28 times or some shit like that. A lot. She lied and said she'd never been there, but then there was photos of her, the whole thing, right? That was last month also. But or maybe the beginning, whenever it was, a couple weeks ago. And what makes me wonder is what is going on here? Like, why would Hillary Clinton, miss Trump derangement syndrome, come out and say that Trump is doing a good job? Like, what am I missing, right?
Yeah, but I'll level with you. For me, watching that video, I didn't take that as her giving him a compliment.
No?
No.
Play it again, John. Maybe I missed it. Play it
No,
again.
I mean,
Play it again, Sam. Maybe I missed it, but I watched
I think
it
all of
like
that is a very good signal that there is beginning to be a better understanding, both by the president and the people around him, as well as by the leaders of our European allies, that there can be common ground amongst us. And the kind of dismissiveness that we saw in the first Trump administration has been replaced by a much more obvious working relationship to the good of European security, transatlantic security, and hopefully Ukrainian security. So I'm
Oh,
actually encouraged.
got it. It's because she is a fucking warmonger and Trump's bombing Iran.
Yep.
That's what I missed in
And
that.
she's talking about him like he's a little 8-year-old.
But she's never said
he just
the
finally
president.
caught up. He just finally caught up to what we all knew.
Yeah, well, we all knew
And-
that we need to
yeah.
bomb Iran. Right.
Yeah.
Got it.
No.
All right, cool. Can I see that for a second? I want to hover. No. John, what I do, little training moment. What I do is because I can't see everything on here, is I'll hover over it to see what this says. Played that. Okay, so we're over here. So, okay, here we go.
All right, let's say something to get me assassinated here. You might have noticed something drastic has changed. Many are waking up and seeing very clearly something like, well, this.
How much influence does Israel have on our country?
Israel's controlling our government.
Israel controls us.
Israel is in control of our government. The government of Israel controls the United States.
Israel has run American foreign policy for 30 years.
It feels like we're just owned by Israel. We just never knew it.
Is the United States government now just taking edicts and orders from Israel?
Israel first.
Israel first. Israel first. This really is an Israel first administration.
Now, if you don't see that yet, I apologize for being so anti-Semitic. But back to reality for the adults in the room. Once people have woken up to what you just saw, many of them have been realizing this.
I do have a lot of uncomfort about America's relationship with Israel, the Israeli political leaders. That's what I mean. I believe that group it just feels like a satanic regime. It feels like they just want to cause pain.
Yeah, most of Trump's now former supporters feel betrayed by him and have withdrawn their support. Hell, even the director of national counterterrorism, Joe Kent, has just resigned because, as he says, I cannot in good conscience support the ongoing war in Iran. Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation, and it is clear that we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby. Yikes. Just to be specific, the drastic change in Trump has him making enemies out of his supporters, outcasting true America First patriots, while he endorses politicians and influencers that nobody in his former base likes or trusts, as he escalates a massive war on behalf of Israel that he promised he would never start.
It seems so insane based on what he ran on. I mean, this is why a lot of people feel betrayed, right? He ran on no more wars and these stupid, senseless wars, and then we have one that we can't even really clearly define why we did it.
So in tonight's special Come to Jesus episode, we'll learn exactly what the hell is happening so you can make sense of the senseless and understand what changed with Trump and why. Is the government of Israel truly evil, or are they God's chosen people? And how does Charlie Kirk and the current TPUSA tie into this along with Epstein? The answers might surprise you, but they'll also definitely frighten you. The betrayal of America first. Let's start here with, well, what you could call treason.
There are a bunch of people in the U.S. government who do not put the United States before the interests of Israel, period. And you saw that very clearly with Mike Huckabee. We interviewed him last week, and there was no sense at all that he represents the United States or has any interest in what happens to the United States.
As Trump campaigned on America first, and now his support base has very much imploded, as his actions are very much Israel first, we see he's not the only one in the U.S. government that serves the Israel flag. And, probably just because it's good for business, Trump has also viciously turned on anyone that doesn't toe the Israel first line. And if you haven't been paying attention, there are in fact one of two qualifications that a person has to meet for Trump to turn on them. Number one, call for justice and transparency with the Epstein files. Number two, choose America's interest over Israel's. By the way, many believe transparency with the Epstein files is compromising Israel's interests, so the two might be one and the same. For example, beloved people that Trump has suddenly blackballed over this are people like Thomas Massey, whom everybody loves, Megyn Kelly, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Candace Owens, and Tucker Carlson, amongst others. In fact, dear Tucker has been so critical about the Israeli government that the CIA has now been spying on him and is rumored to be preparing a criminal referral. Silence him, that kind of thing, because he's saying words about Israel's government that seem very inconveniently true. Don't assassinate me. But the plot thickens because free speech from Americans is such a threat to the Israeli agenda that the Israeli government warns about these two American citizens.
I look at the West, our greatest ally, and I see a new enemy rising from within. I am speaking of a poison being sold to the American people as patriotism. I'm speaking of the intellectual vandalism of Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens.
Enemies, they are. Patriotism to America is poison. He said those words out loud. It's kind of like.
Bring me in. Yeah, so it's crazy. When you look at that, when you hear what he's saying, and you look at all the facts, and again, he puts it down in a way that it's funny, but it's not funny at all when you think about it.
It is true, but the thing is historically what we're dealing with here is Christianity versus.
Yeah.
I mean, that by and large, that is the bottom line.
Sure.
Okay. And with the doctrines, the two of them cannot coexist.
Sure. Absolutely.
That's point blank and period.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, I agree with him. I agree with what he's saying.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily Israel. There was one of the video that you had played earlier.
Uh-huh.
It was his, and it was basically Israel and the U.S. are both guided or are both run by the same thing, which is essentially Christianity.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And Israel is actually the home of that. In the Bible, biblically, that is where that area is where Christianity came from.
Huh.
So
But
we're essentially in the middle of what's considered a quote holy war.
Sure. But the thing about that is they don't even believe that Jesus is the Son of God.
That's Islam.
No, so is in Judaism the same way? They think that, don't they think that Judaism or that how's it go? Maybe it's
Don't believe so. I could be wrong. But that's essentially what it is, and you know what everyone's talking about, where they're saying no, America first. You know, not Israel first. We're in a country right now, the way at least I believe that our ideals work, is that you can choose to worship, believe in God however you want to. Right? But essentially
the Jewish religion does not believe that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God, or the divine being. Judaism maintains a strict monotheistic belief,
right, which
in
is
the absolute unity of God.
Yeah, which is the Trinity.
The worship of a personal or a person as a form of idolatry. Idolatry. Jesus is not accepted as the Messiah because he did not fulfill Jewish messianic prophecy, such as building the third temple, bringing world peace, or gathering all the Jews to Israel. So no, so they don't believe
Yeah.
in Jesus. So that's kind of like, well, you don't believe in Jesus, and
Right.
you might have a different take on it because of the way you grew up, right?
Yeah, and that's not even saying that that's true. But right. But I think what I was trying to get at
Yeah,
is
what?
that we're right now society is, at least in America, it's like, hey, you can believe however you want to. You can choose to worship, don't worship God however you want to. It's just, as a country, I think a lot of us are at that point where we're like, listen, religion and government, they need to be separate.
But they're not.
But they're not.
They're not even close.
Not even close.
Have you seen Trump wearing the yarmulke?
Mhm.
I'm like, that thing don't even fit your head, dude. You get too big of a fucking melon. Anyway,
But that's just the reality of it. At one point, the two were tied together. And actually,
religion and politics,
absolutely,
they are right now.
yeah, and you can see it on our dollar bill. In God we trust.
Yeah.
The two are tied together here. We have a society that's like, hey, these two need to be separated.
Right.
And here we are going back over and we're fighting what's essentially a holy war.
Absolutely, I agree with that.
I don't disagree with any of that.
But I do disagree fully in the Jewish teaching.
Okay.
And
that's fine.
Because I'm a Christian, I believe that the only way through to be saved and is to be baptized and forgiving of your sins, that Jesus died on the cross for your sins.
Right. Well,
so I mean, so I hate Jews. No.
Well, because what you're
No,
getting
so
in there
you're
is
not
a
allowed to have that thought.
Yeah, but here's the difference: is that when you get over into Islam,
That's a completely different.
it's a completely different.
The
But the
Talmud.
difference is they do it doesn't. The two cannot coexist.
Right, for sure.
Which is when, okay, so now we have a war that's going over in Islam. If you have a religion that cannot coexist with anything else.
Anything else, right?
Period.
Yeah,
Because
anything
it's
else.
infidels, you must be destroyed.
Right.
You have that, and they're threatening the security of Israel,
Uh-huh.
United States, all of these.
Uh-huh.
What do you do? Because the fact of the
Blow them
matter,
up.
well, but the fact of the matter is it's not contained over there.
Right. No, absolutely. So
it's
that's
here,
a
too.
very and we're gonna we got a little bit to get through to get there, and but for the sake of the conversation right now, I agree that part. The part that I don't agree with is counterintelligence. Both of them said Iran was not a direct threat.
No,
But they blew them up anyway, and they started this war because of Israel saying, "If you don't, we will."
Okay.
And I'll show you shortly when we get to it.
Yeah.
But let's
Yeah,
let's
let's
hold
get a
on.
little further down.
Let's do let me see that for a second. I mean, John, I want you to get doxxed because you're in here with conspiracy theorists, but it's too late. He's been on the show, you know that. Did you see him on the show? He was
I
on the
haven't.
show. Yeah, he's been on the show. Okay, so we're going to run through a couple of these. I want to here we go. Let's see this one, this one. Bear with me. We have to listen to Ted Cruz for just a minute. He's a fucking slime ball, but I used to like him.
I wondered why the door locked from the inside.
Yeah.
The key was on the inside.
And listen, Joe Kent and Tucker together. So Joe is saying the quote darker theory is that Trump is under threat from Israel. Mind you, that's
Yes.
what he's saying. And he also suggests, well, and Charlie Kirk was too. And then he says, now I'm not saying the Israelis killed Charlie Kirk, but there are questions. Let me say, Anyone who believes Israel killed Charlie Kirk, you've lost your mind.
Yeah.
That is a moonbat theory.
Right. But real quick, back to Charlie's legacy that's being carried on by Erica Kirk and TPUSA, just in the opposite direction than Charlie carried it. Now, maybe they know what Charlie wanted better than Charlie did. Erica Kirk has faced heavy criticism for, at the very least, weird behavior by Trump's former base. According to this poll, 80% of people say, yes, something weird is going on with Erica Kirk. But oddly enough, for everyone in the pro-Israel crowd, criticizing Erica Kirk is despicable behavior. Off limits is what we're told. They say she's just a grieving widow, and they defend her in support of Charlie's legacy. Oddly enough, those very people are opposed to Charlie's actual legacy when it comes to Israel and war with Iran. It's kind of weird because the message of their actions makes it look like they're using the name of Charlie Kirk to propagate an agenda that Charlie was strongly against. But they call you and I despicable. Meanwhile, now get this, everyone who has left the Trump camp or had Trump blackball them tends to have three things in common. One, they call for justice with the Epstein files. Two, they're suspicious of Israel. Three, they think something weird is going on with Erica Kirk. While those that support the new Trump have three things in common as well. Number one, they say we should just move on from the Epstein files. Number two, call for unwavering support of Israel. And number three, they get outraged at any critical look of Erica Kirk. Golly, just seems like one of these groups is loyal to Trump at all costs, and it seems like the other group is loyal to truth at all costs. Now, before you can understand the whole picture, you have to understand the idea we must defend Israel. They're God's chosen people, so God wants us to. Well, not so fast. Spoiler alert, in the US, we have separation of church and state, which prohibits the government from endorsing a religion, even if that religion is funding many people in government. Not to mention that going to war for religious reasons on behalf of another country to the detriment of our own, well, qualifies as treason. So there's that too. But more importantly, the very idea of Israel is God's chosen people, it's highly questionable and most likely just not true for two reasons. Number one, the people in the state of Israel are not God's chosen people according to Christianity and the Bible, because traditional interpretations viewed Israel in the Bible to mean church, not people living in the literal state of Israel, which didn't exist until the late 1940s, thanks in part to the Rothschilds family. So the interpretation was people who go to church are God's chosen people. And that kind of makes sense. It wasn't until Zionist interpretations came along in the 1890s where they brought a new, suspiciously different interpretation. And the spread of Zionism was heavily supported by the Rothschilds family. They're great. Now, the second reason that people living in the literal state of Israel are God's chosen people doesn't pass a sniff test is, well, does genocide, burning children alive, and prisoner rape seem like something God's chosen people would do? Here's a former U.S. intel officer.
For 1 year, I have watched Israel burn children alive.
And 5 Israeli soldiers were caught sexually assaulting a male Palestinian prisoner. Is that something God's chosen people would actually do? Also, God is against sodomy. Did that. By the way, if you're sitting there going like, this isn't a look at citizens of Israel. This is a look at the Israeli government. Now here's Charlie Kirk.
But the fact is now Bibi and the Israeli hard right government has a mandate. I got to be careful the way I say this. They're going to try to ethnically cleanse Gaza.
Yep.
I mean, I don't use that term lightly.
And here's Charlie talking about October 7th and the Israeli government.
But I think some questions need to be asked. Was there a stand down order? Was there a stand down order?
Now, you can believe that's all things God's chosen people would do, because people in the Epstein files who are still in positions of power in our government tell you that's what God's chosen people would do. Or you can apply common sense and maybe even consider how we might currently be in the fiercest psyop the world has ever known. This just
right. So back to your topic. That was exactly what your topic was. That's why I played that. You think about it. What has happened over the years? What 1840 things started to change, and here we are, and everything's centered around religion, some religion,
Right.
and even the fact that this is the thing that I don't understand. So you know about APAC, right? Okay, so APAC is like a lobbying. They give money to people. They're
Okay.
Israel. It's an Israel lobbying firm or whatever, and they pay like 93% of all the Congress and Senate take APAC money.
Okay.
So they take APAC money, which means that if they are going to vote on something, they have to vote the conscience of the people that are giving, hundreds of thousands or billions of dollars. And that is a religious thing that has turned into, when you listen to Congress and they're talking about, I don't take any APAC money. There's literally 93% of all congressmen and senators and all that stuff
Are on the payroll.
are on the payroll. And so everything that happens, and that's what Charlie was talking. Charlie's like, listen, what they've done, because he was, before his death, the reason why they killed him, and I'll play it in a minute, was because he was like, we can't get into a war with Iran because it will devastate the world. And it doesn't make sense to fight someone else's battle because we're fighting a religious war for two countries that haven't been able to get along forever.
Right.
And the fact that it'll devastate us. And he literally said a day or two before he was killed that they're going to kill me. I don't know if you know that. It was in text messages. But like, for instance,
Israel's war. The worst possible case scenario is Iran says, okay, you humiliated us, you killed all of our leaders, we're going to go make this a regional mess and try to get as many people involved as possible. They're going to go after Americans, they're going to go after Saudis, they're going to go after everybody imaginable, just to create a big mess and to try to draw the world into it. Here's where I stand and where the MAGA base stands. Not want U.S. boots on the ground, not want American kinetic involvement.
So when you hear that,
right,
and you see what's going on, Iran went after everybody in the region.
Right.
And yeah, so they went after everybody in the region because we have bases in all those areas. And so they blew them all up. And they're not slouches. They've been 40 years preparing for this war that they're not ready to get out of. And I got, a couple of days ago, I played clip after clip after clip about the war and about how they are like, you killed our supreme leader and their kids and their grandkids and the mother and the this and the that. Until we get what we deserve back from the death that you created, Israel and the United States, we're not going to stop sending missiles wherever.
Well, but with that, I would ask is, the recent attacks, do you think that was the on-road to the U.S. being involved in this?
What do you mean?
Well, because it really strikes me, if I'm looking at it, the U.S. was stuck in it whether we sided with Israel or not.
I got a clip for you here in a minute. We're almost there. I want to play this Joe Kent clip first. I want to get to it. We're going to get to it, but they did say that the reason why they attacked Iran when they did is because Israel was going to. And if Israel would have attacked them, then they would have attacked us, and then we would have been prepared. And we would have been devastated worse than we were because Israel was going to attack them anyway. And that's on live broadcast TV. But I kind of jumped the gun a little bit. I'm going to save the Candace Owens shooting thing for another day. Probably tomorrow we'll cover it. but because it goes down and it gets deep about the shooting and stuff. And I have another clip that I'm going to pull up, and I'm going to look at a shooting about that. There's possibility that Charlie Cook was shot twice, and I'm going to cover that tomorrow because we don't have time for it. We're running low on time. We're always running low on time because I have so many clips. I have 35 clips in 2 hours. So Weinstein, he comes on Tucker last week or 2 weeks ago or whatever, and he literally says, I think that Israel should be investigated for the death of Charlie Kirk's assassination. Did you know that? Check it out.
I feel, and I cannot say for sure, but I feel that something was watching and it felt the clock ticking and its opportunity to finally bring about this war, which I think Netanyahu said he's been dreaming of for 40 years.
He did say that.
So something wanted this war to happen, and there was the perception that the opportunity, the window was closing, so it had to be brought about quickly. Given how public Charlie was on this topic, I can't help but wonder. Now, obviously, that will sound crazy to many people, that something would have even considered such a thing. But I will say, after Charlie was killed, Benjamin Netanyahu very quickly denied responsibility for it. I was shocked by this. It did not seem natural. Now, I'm not saying that that means that anything in that quadrant was responsible for the murder. All I know is that we didn't get a decent investigation. But I did feel, and maybe I hope you will tell me that I'm imagining this. I did feel that that denial by Netanyahu was effectively a Rorschach test and maybe designed to be one. That I was supposed to feel alarmed by this, and a normal person was supposed to think, that is batshit crazy. He said they didn't do it. Obviously, they didn't do it. So anyway, I'm not telling you that I see the evidence that somebody did it, but what I am telling you is we've just found ourselves in a war that Charlie would have been opposed to. We know that from his public and private statements, and that he would have been a formidable force in opposition. So what am I to think? Why? At least we should have an investigation that tells us for sure that we know who committed the crime and that there wasn't something larger about it. But look, now I've said unforgivable things. It's done.
I don't know why that's unforgivable. I mean, this is an American citizen, someone you knew, and you're not accusing anyone of anything. And I do think, leaving aside Charlie's murder and the question of who did it, for a foreign leader to weigh in immediately and hog all the attention and make it all about himself and start issuing all these statements about how Charlie lived and died for Israel is totally unforgivable. I say this as his friend. I just think if someone did that to me after my death, I think my family would be outraged. It's not about you,
right,
BB? So that was disgusting behavior from someone with a track record of disgusting behavior. But at the very least, we could say that's just wrong. That's not how you behave in the wake of a young man's murder. And I'm never alleged. I don't even talk about this topic, and I'm not going to now, other than to say, I think everything you've said is entirely reasonable, and it's not an insult to the living.
Well,
to want to know what happened to the dead.
Yeah. So that's one of those things that you're like, yeah, well, I mean, there's too many things that lined up like that. And Israel has the MO of Israel is assassination. That's what they're good at.
Right.
It's assassinating people and making it look like somebody else did it. And that's kind of so tomorrow, just a heads up, I'm going to show you there's some talk about a drone killing Charlie, because they're saying that it came in from right here and went down, because they said that it went down and got lodged in his spine.
Oh.
And so that shot might have been a separate shot where it came out here. But again, we're going to look into that tomorrow. We're going to do a deep dive on that tomorrow. Okay. But let's keep going. So Kent was like, a few months before Trump was inaugurated, he was like, hey, Israel is, or Iran is a problem. And this is where we talked about this earlier. This is where I'm like, okay, which one is it? We shouldn't attack Iran, or we should. Which one is it? And this is the kind of thing that kind of threw me off. But with this show, I'm going to give you the truth, even if it don't look good, even if I don't like it, and I think it it's some shifts the narrative or whatever. I don't give a shit. All I'm doing is just like Bongino. I always liked Bongino, and what I see of him today is just disgusts me. But this is 3 months before President Trump's inauguration, or inauguration. This is what Kent says on the Sean Ryan show. Stand by.
They're still registering for the draft, aren't they? Like that's the logical conclusion to the direction that we're heading in right now, unless we make some serious changes.
I mean, I've already heard rumors that Fifth Group is going to be sending guys to Iraq because of the escalated situation with Iran now.
Yeah. I mean, most Americans aren't aware of it. Our troops in Iraq and Syria have been attacked 150 plus times by Iranian proxies. And when we say Iranian proxies, we got to be clear on what that is. That's the Iraqi government that we pay. Because after the Iraqi military we spent $2 trillion on surrendered to ISIS, we had to go back in there in very short order and stand a military back up again. And guess who filled the breach? The Shia militias controlled by Iran did. And the Iraqi government's controlled by Iran. So these are.
So that's that. Let's listen to what Gabber says.
So the assessment of the intelligence community is that Iran's nuclear enrichment program was obliterated by last summer's airstrikes.
Yes.
In the opening statement you submitted to the committee last night also stated, quote, there has been no effort since then to try to rebuild their enrichment capability, end quote, correct?
That's right.
And that's the assessment of the intelligence community. Yes. The White House stated on March 1st of this year that this war was launched and was, quote, a military campaign to eliminate the imminent nuclear threat posed by the Iranian regime, end quote. That's a statement from the White House. Quote, the imminent nuclear threat posed by the Iranian regime. Was it the assessment of the intelligence community that there was an imminent nuclear threat posed by the Iranian regime?
The intelligence community assessed that Iran maintained the intention to rebuild and to continue to grow their nuclear enrichment capability.
Was it the assessment of the intelligence community that there was a, quote, imminent nuclear threat posed by the Iranian regime, yes or no?
Senator, the only person who can determine what is and is not an imminent threat is the president.
False. This is the worldwide threats hearing where you present to Congress national intelligence, timely, objective, and independent of political considerations. You've stated today that the intelligence community's assessment is that Iran's nuclear enrichment program was obliterated and that, quote, there had been no efforts since then to try to rebuild their enrichment capability. Was it the intelligence community's assessment that nevertheless, despite this obliteration, there was a, quote, imminent nuclear threat posed by the Iranian regime? Yes or no?
It is not the intelligence community's responsibility to determine what is and is not an imminent threat.
Okay.
That is up to the president based on a volume of
it is
information
precisely
that he receives.
it is precisely your responsibility to determine what constitutes a threat to the United States. This is the worldwide threats hearing where, as you noted in your opening testimony, quote, you represent the IC's assessment of threats. You are here to represent the IC's assessment of threats. That's a quote from your own opening statement. And so my question is, as you're here to present the IC's assessment of threats, was it the assessment of the intelligence community that, as the White House claimed on March 1st, there was a, quote, imminent nuclear threat posed by the Iranian regime? Yes or no?
Once again, Senator, the intelligence community has provided the inputs that make up this annual threat assessment.
You won't answer the question.
It is the nature of the imminent threat that the president has to make that determination based on a collection and volume
You're here
of
to be
information and
timely.
intelligence that he is provided with.
You're here to.
Oh. It sounds like it's I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know how that works. I don't know if she's even allowed to tell them anything about
she may
the threat
not.
assess.
She may not. but what I took away from that is it gets into what you could feasibly define.
Well, they're trying to get her to say something, just like they got,
Yeah,
they got what Kristi Noem to say, so that they can get her out of the office and get some deep stater in there, because
Right,
she's actually making shit happen over there.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
And here's the thing, though, is really an imminent threat is like what they're talking about with Iran, right? They have the desire
Uh-huh.
and they have the capability to do it, to
Right.
rebuild.
Right. If they can enrich the
If
uranium.
that's just pieces
Right.
parts,
Right.
So
Yeah.
does that constitute an imminent threat? Well, it could be argued both. I could see it being argued both ways, but the
Sure.
reality is yeah. If somebody wants to do something and they have the capability to do it,
Well, but
because at this point it would be in pretty short order. The rest of it's just pieces parts, and they probably have the money to do it.
Well, yeah, we give them pallets of cash. I mean,
Yeah,
come
you've
on.
got that, and then it's like they even brought up between Iran and China. What if what are they getting funded by China too?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And Russia.
And Russia.
Yeah. And
they now
and
have
Korea.
So they now have
North Korea.
money to be able to do it. They want to do it, and they have the capability of doing it.
Yeah.
Does that constitute an imminent threat?
Sounds like there's a possibility. This is the thing. This is what happened, though. If you notice, right after we've covered this, but I'm gonna, just for the sake of the conversation, what the assessment is Bibi and his crew came in there just before the attack 3 weeks ago. 7th time he'd been in the White House, and he tells Trump, "This is what we know." And they're 3 days from a nuclear weapon or whatever.
Yeah.
He always has they're a week, they're a month, they're a year, they're
Right.
this, and if you don't, and I'm going to play the clip in a minute. If you don't, we're going to attack them if you don't. Right. And so they felt that they had to attack, which I think they should have played hardball on that and told them, no, you do what the fuck we say. We're running the show here, not you. But what happened was they overbarreled Trump administration, and then the attack happened. My assessment. I don't know.
Well, I don't know that much about that, but it still goes back to when we were talking before. It's like, okay, well, are we, does the U.S. did it have an exit to this war, or was it a situation where the U.S. was already in it, no matter which way it went?
All right,
Because the administration could tell Netanyahu to pound sand, like you said, that we're not going to do anything, and we're still in it.
Right. Hold on. Hold that thought.
I cannot in good conscience support the ongoing war in Iran. Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation. Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation. How did you reach that conclusion?
I think this is key. I mean, this would be more challenging to explain had the Secretary of State, the President, and the Speaker of the House not come out and said that we conducted this attack at this time because the Israelis were about to do so. So that takes away the argument that there was an imminent threat, as in Iran was planning to attack us immediately. That just simply did not exist.
May I ask you to pause? And so I've heard people say that, and this just happened, but history has a way of getting rewritten in real time. And then you look back 10 or 15, 20, 25 years later, and no one seems to understand the things that you saw because they've been eliminated.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to stop and say, here's what we actually know. So I'd like now, if we could, just to play one of the statements that you alluded to, and that's from Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State. And this was shortly after this war commenced. And he was explaining as is his habit, in a thoughtful, precise way, why. Here's Secretary of State Marco Rubio.
And so the president made the very wise decision. We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties and perhaps even higher those killed. And then we would all be here answering questions about why we knew that and didn't act.
Okay, so that is his almost contemporaneous explanation, and it's not offhand. He reasons it out. He explains there's a logic chain there. He says, we knew not that Iran was going to attack. He did not say that.
Right.
He said we knew that Israel was going to attack Iran, and in retaliation for those attacks by Israel against Iran, Iran might attack American forces. So the imminent threat that the Secretary of State is describing is not from Iran, it's from Israel.
Exactly. And I think this speaks to the broader issue. Who is in charge of our policy in the Middle East? Who is in charge of when we decide to go to war or not? In this case, with what the secretary described, and later on the president, later on the Speaker of the House, and the way the events played out, the Israelis drove the decision to take this action, which we knew would set off a series of events, meaning the Iranians would retaliate. Now, I think there's a potential there where we could have done several different things. We could have simply said to the Israelis, no, you will not. And if you do, then we will take something away from you. I think that it's fine that we offer defense to Israel, but when we're providing the means for their defense, we get to dictate the terms of when they go on the offensive. Otherwise, they stand to lose that relationship. And the Israelis felt emboldened that no matter what they did, no matter what situation they put us in, that they could go ahead and take this action, and we would just have to react.
Yeah. So
That's
my point. That was my point. That was exactly my point. So, but let me just let me back this up. Is it important? It's a short clip. It's like 1 minute, but check this out.
Yesterday, you told us that Israel was going to strike Iran and that's why we needed to get involved. Today, the president said that Iran was going to get.
Yeah, your statement is false. So that's not what I was asked very specifically. Were you there yesterday?
Yes, I asked
Okay.
the question.
And so the president made the very wise decision. We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties and perhaps even higher those killed. And then we would all be here answering questions about why we knew that and didn't act.
Yeah. So just wrap that little piece up there. We attacked because Israel was going to attack, not because Iran was a threat. And that's what Joe's saying. Joe Kent's saying there was no imminent threat. I mean, whether they had uranium or whatever they need for a nuclear weapon or not, they probably have 10. I mean, they probably have plenty of nuclear weapons. I mean, I would think you got Israel bombing you all the time. They're in this war, this holy war, been going on for hundreds of years, 47 years actually. And, you probably should have some backup to where if they're going to attack you, you can attack them back, right? It's all common sense. Why they're not allowed to have it? Because they're worried about them shooting it at us or whatever. I get that. I totally understand. Death to America, we're Satan, all that stuff. I get that. I totally understand all that. But what I don't understand is how when all the advisors, all the people around Trump, the higher ups said it was a bad idea. Like all the people that, military, retired military and stuff. They're like, it's a bad idea. This is a war that would just put us back many years. If you do this, you shouldn't do it, blah, blah, blah. And then the people that's closest to him in the White House told him to do it. And so he did it. Even when the Pentagon told him not to do it, he still did it because whoever on the ground is telling him to do it. And that's where I come up with that thing. Well, why are they doing this now? This is a big it's like rolling the dice. You put all your money on red, you roll the dice, and if it's black, you lost everything, right?
Right.
And it just seems like, and there's been talk of it, him saying that, and some of the advisors said that they did this with thinking that it would Iran would just fall and then it would be over in no time. And it didn't go that
Didn't
way.
go that way.
It did not go that way. So anyway, because we're running out of time, I'm gonna need a few extra minutes. It looks like, but because I want to make sure that I get to this famine part. I kind of want to do the Rothschilds thing though, because I missed it and I forgot about it, and I think it's important that people have the context of all this goes together. The war in Iran, the pedophiles, the Charlie Kirk, the illegal voting, the everything, all is the same. It all goes together. And when you realize that, it makes it easier to dissect it or even to stomach it when you know that everything that's going on, the deep state and the corruption, the money and the everything, all is about the Rothschilds, and it all hinged on one person. Do you know who that one person is?
No.
Jeffrey Epstein.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Jeffrey Epstein. Check it out.
The Fabian socialist elites working at the behest of the Rothschilds to set up the Federal Reserve banking system in the United States under Woodrow Wilson through their legate, Colonel Edwin Mandel House. And if you want to think about legates kind of like that, well, you could think of somebody like Jeffrey Epstein as a recent legate, very similar to the roles and the patterns of action that we see with Epstein and Colonel Edwin Mandel House. Epstein had a role as a kind of organized crime networking figure, kind of a PhD in organized crime. And amongst these characters, they populated, these early Fabian socialists populated the Inquiry, which is the pre-OSS World War I era network of intelligence operatives, academics, etc. But by the time of World War II, which is where we left off last time when we covered this book, there were actually quite a few members of the OSS and CIA that came from Wall Street. As Wall Street began to be more and more prominent, as people perfected the techniques of advertising, you had many people who went from banking and Wall Street directly into intelligence work, and vice versa. When the war ended, they went from the OSS back into working at banks. In fact, the key members of the early days of the CIA, many of them were actually just bankers and Rockefeller representatives. For example, William Stevenson, Wild Bill Donovan were legates and attachés of the Rockefellers. Jeffrey Epstein was a legate and attaché of the Rockefellers, what he admits in the Bannon interview. He tells Steve Bannon, he says, I worked for David Rockefeller. They brought me in to the Council for Relations when I was 30. So he's working for Rockefeller as an attaché. That's not different than working for the Rothschilds. In fact, those families combined their fortunes years ago, that was in mainstream news, to work together to kind of be a super intelligence making establishment that would really run the Western world. And this is why things don't change, is that we continually ignore this and we get distracted with the political WWF wrestling, picking your team. So we have essentially a Wall Street banking takeover of the country, basically 100 years ago or more. That's why the elections don't change things. That's why the Federal Reserve, the IRS, none of that ever changes or goes away. The politicians come and go. I'm not saying that everything Trump did was bad, but there's limits to what one dude can do because there's a giant bureaucratic national security state that's in place that is it's organized like a giant organized crime onion. And Jeffrey Epstein is not the first Bond villain to be an organized crime PhD mastermind. Now, I think he was sued. He wasn't a great philosophy mind. He wasn't some tech genius like he thought he was. He thought he was like a genius, like a savant at everything. But one thing he was good at was networking on organized crime structures. He was really good at figuring out the black markets and how to run those and to meet with heads of state and how to blackmail people and how to organize all that. Well, that's not new. Okay, Colonel Edwin Mandel House was doing that same thing 100 years ago. So we have a banking Wall Street takeover, and you can vote the rascals in and out every few years, but does that change things? I mean, it might have an influence if one politician can speak to enough of the masses, but the masses are unfortunately pretty dumb, and it takes a long time to pull the Overton window back.
All right. Yeah. So you see what I mean? And like, I get a kick out of how people think that we're stupid. They just think that we're dumb. We're just dumb shits and we don't know nothing. And we're never going to, they could be right in your face and you're not going to see it because they're too smart for you. They just know everything. And when you put all the pieces together, it's like 40 acres on top of a fucking mountain with electric fence around it is the only way that you're going to get out of this. And you make your own food, have your own cattle, have your own everything, and live off the fucking land. You know what I mean? Because it's like anything that goes on. I mean, because think about it. They put fucking chemicals in the fucking air. They fucking poison you in the food. I mean, just every fucking thing that they can, they do that. And it's almost like the Pinky and the Brain. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Taking over the world. You know what I mean? So anyway, I want to make sure that got out because Jay Dyer is a philosopher and he's really, really good researcher. I mean, he's top notch. He covers a lot of different things. Occult stuff like that. He covers all that stuff. You know what I mean? And when I seen that today, I was like, oh yeah, that explains it. That explains it all. If you can understand that, it makes it easier to think that Trump's not an idiot. He's one person surrounded by thousands of fucking corrupt people around him.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I know that he knows that he was duped on this Iran thing. But what do you do once it's there? Once you're here, what do? You can't back off. You can't just stall, just walk away now. You know what I mean? Then you're weak, then but listen, the world is seeing this not in a good eye. They're not seeing this like, oh, Trump's the best. You know what I mean? At first, it was supposed to be to bomb the mullahs or whatever so that they could free the Iranians that, they killed 5,000 of them. You know that, right? Last month, they killed all the protesters. They killed them all. And so, I get that the humanitarian thing was to go in and take out the mullahs and, and the Shiites and, then Iran would be free and then they could take over their country and they could, because that's what the idea was to let them take over their country.
I'm
You know what I
sure
mean?
part of that idea too is that once they take over their country, that they're going to align
With something.
with the U.S.
Right.
Instead of Russia, China.
Right. Well, sure. But check it out. So they are deaf to America and they are 22 virgins. If they die for their God, that their religion is, to be a martyr, right? That's the whole philosophy is if I'm dying for God, their God, whatever their God is, their Allah, if they die for that, then they get the virgins and they go to the peaceful place or whatever, right?
Right.
And so they don't give a shit if they die.
And this is the point. And you're coming to, you end up bringing that into America.
Yeah.
And we're a country that we talk about a belief in God, but the reality is most of us don't really care.
Right.
Okay. And the problem is what I see, and I could be wrong on this, but from what I see, the majority of people are blind to how extreme those beliefs actually are.
Absolutely.
They have
I agree.
no idea. You could tell them and they're just like, yeah, whatever, I believe in God. I believe in a God too, but I don't go around killing people. Well,
Right.
Okay, they do.
They do, and they believe in that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it is actually something that is expressed in that religion.
They just killed 5,000 fucking people on the street. I mean,
Yeah.
It's like they don't give a shit.
And the problem is most people in the U.S., they're so insulated from that fact. It's like you could tell them, and it doesn't click.
Yeah, it doesn't register.
You know, the idea of them coming and shooting them up, to them, they get a flash of what, a video game screen, like it's not real. They look at it third person instead of understanding that, hey, if this ends up here, it is going to directly affect you.
Well, we're going to talk about the direct effect right now. So there's been talk about what happens when they took out that train that we talked about at the beginning.
Right.
When we talked about them taking out the train, which is I'll let Mike Adams talk about it, because I don't, but it's like a oil refinery plant, big fucking thing, and they took out two of them. Iran took out two yesterday or day before. And so play John 2A for us.
Will Trump do something like blow up that gas field? I think clearly he will. And in fact, that.
And I've got an incredible lineup for you here and a detailed critical analysis of what just happened and the multi-year implications for our world. And the guest I have joining me in this segment coming up in about 15 minutes is Michael Yon, the war correspondent who predicted everything that you are seeing happen right now. Now, I want to remind you that just 2 days ago here on the show, on Tuesday, I gave you a detailed analysis of what would happen if the critical energy infrastructure of specifically Qatar Energy and its natural gas exports, if that were taken offline because of the continued closure of the Strait of Hormuz. And if you go back and reference that show, you'll see I was talking about fertilizer shortages, urea, sulfuric acid, which is critical for many industrial processes all around the world. And I talked about how we could face food inflation, a lot of price increases, but also supply chain disruption and things like critical minerals, including copper and zinc and aluminum. We talked about the force majeure that has already been declared by dozens of companies worldwide because of their lack of access to critical energy out of Qatar. Well, now here today, with that context in mind, I'm about to tell you that things are far worse, because we are now on the track of the worst case scenario. We're not 100% there yet, but something just happened yesterday that put us on a track, a very dangerous turning point that some are calling energy Armageddon. And that's not hyperbole. We are talking about a series of events. And one of them was, Israel first striking the South Pars gas field of Iran, and then Iran responding by striking some of the facilities of Qatar Energy. We now have confirmation from the CEO of Qatar Energy in a Reuters interview that was just aired today, where now 2 of the 14 cryogenic facilities that produce natural gas for our world, 2 of the 14 have now been destroyed. And the repair time of those 2 is 3 to 5 years. And these are all quotes from the CEO of Qatar Energy. I'm going to get into more detail in the next segment on all of this. But what this means is that now 17% of Qatar Energy's annual production is offline for 3 to 5 years, which means that if this war ends tomorrow, which it won't, because, Trump seems to be completely unwilling to negotiate with Iran on any terms that would guarantee the continued existence of Iran. And Trump, as much as he chided Israel last night, saying that Israel shouldn't strike Iran's energy infrastructure there, Israel does whatever it wants. And it just drags Trump along. Trump's not in charge. That's clear. He's not in charge of Israel, and he's certainly not in charge of Iran. Trump's not in charge of this war, and that's why it's escalating beyond his control. But if this continues, if this gets worse, if there are more of these LNG facilities destroyed, and they're called trains, by the way, and they're not choo-choo trains, okay? they are cryogenic heat exchangers primarily, but they're called trains. If all 14 are destroyed, this will lead to a 10-year global famine, and it will take 10, 15 years to bring that production back online. And according to estimates that I conducted with my AI research agents, anywhere from 2 to 4 billion human beings will starve and die over the next decade. So we're talking.
Yeah. So bring me back, John. So before I get into this next clip, the cryogenic energy is the fuel or the oil refinery. And he said that if the war ended today, that it
10
would
to 15
10 to
years.
15 years. And if any more of those get taken out, it'll be worse. And they're talking about third world countries are just going to be devastated, and then it's a trickle effect, right? And pretty soon it'll be here. So anyway, let's go ahead and do 2A. Sorry about giving you the wrong number. I labeled them wrong, John. 2A, please.
Will Trump do something like blow up that gas field? I think clearly he will. And in fact, that's part of their game plan. That's, that whether it was blowing up Nord Stream or shutting off Groningen and the screw worms knocking farmers off their fields around the world in so many countries. They've been, opening up the Darien Gap, letting the architecture survive for mass invasions. This is all part of a larger war construct. And you can see that the Middle East is being, it's being disassembled. And I don't think it's going to stop. I think it's going to increase only because, again, this is what they are. This is what they've been working for years, is to create these global famines, to do depopulation. This is engineered. We can clearly see billions of people are about to be starved to death. And that's why they've spent years building up the infrastructure to invade countries as well, with the migration. The human osmotic pressure from famine is intense. That's the hop. Human osmotic pressure is the push and pull of migration. That's why we spent so much time in Darien Gap, obviously. And Thailand right now is already starting to have problems. Why is this important? A lot of these countries, like I'm in Japan right now. Japan just can't produce enough of its own food, period. So it's dependent on countries like Thailand.
So not only do we have Qatar Energy with its gas completely offline at the moment because the strait is closed, but we have UAE oil offline, and right now, like this could be reversed largely if the strait were opened tomorrow, but that would require Trump to do something sane, like agree to take a loss and leave and let the strait open back up again. And I don't see that's going to happen. Do you? Like, how do you think Trump is going to handle this? Because it looks like he's just going to keep going full escalation and making it worse. What do you think?
Full escalation and make it worse, because this is the actual plan. The reason that, again, we're so accurate on these predictions is we're not throwing darts, right? Or let's say we're throwing darts with a very trained arm, right? I mean, we have an idea of what they're doing. We may miss sometimes, but we're hitting bullseyes one after another, year after year, right? And so I would keep eyes on places like Strait of Malacca over near Singapore and in Indonesia, Malaysia. I mean, I think that will probably be closed. Panama Canal is very important for food going back and forth. I keep a sharp look on Panama. We were just up at the Danish Strait. I think there's a high chance that's up in obviously Denmark, German area, Sweden area. There's an obvious possibility that'll be closed. That's part of the menu. You look at the Turkish Strait. Turkish Strait is something that I flew in to see the Prime Minister or former Prime Minister of Thailand about years ago, warning about Turkish Strait and Strait of Hormuz. if the Turkish Strait were to be closed, that would have immediate effects on Thailand and or the Strait of Hormuz, right? Now we have the Strait of Hormuz, has immediate effects on the globe, not just Thailand. I was just focused on Thailand because that's where I happened to be at, or I flew in to talk with him because Thailand's so important on food supply. Now, why is the Turkish Strait so important that Israel is threatening now? It's so important because Ukrainian and Russian fertilizer flow through the Bosphorus, also called the Turkish Strait. So you've got these various chokeholds like Panama, Strait of Gibraltar, Suez, Turkish Strait, Bab el-Mandeb, Strait of Hormuz, obviously, Malacca. I think that, and the Danish Strait, I think that you can easily, we were just up in Hamburg, Germany, looking at that as well. Hamburg is the third biggest port in Europe, and it's the biggest in Germany. I think there's a high possibility you'll see places like Rotterdam, Antwerp, Hamburg eventually also disrupted because
you're talking about a global lockdown. I mean, if these routes are shut down, you mentioned the Strait of Malacca as well. My God, I mean, India is already struggling to try to get energy right now. If you close down the Strait of Malacca, that cuts off India from much of East Asia in terms of manufacturing, as well as imports and exports. India's economy collapses. India is already begging China for urea in order to run its fertilizer facilities in order to feed the Indian people, many of whom live on the edge of poverty right now. We're talking about mass starvation in India for starters, right? I mean, it's one of the most vulnerable countries that I can think of. And Indonesia.
Pakistan and India. I spent about a year in India. And I spent all over India. Now, that's one of the things that I flew in to see Mark Abhisit, former Prime Minister of Thailand. That's the reason I flew in a few years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, to see him. And I was said, if these things happen, Pakistan and India and Bangladesh almost certainly will go into famine, and they will come right to Thailand, right? Because human osmotic pressure. And I've already reconned it I've been over to India and Bangladesh and Myanmar and Thailand, and I looked at the route specifically. You can easily go. There's no Darien Gap in between. They're going to go straight to Thailand. There's not going to be any way to stop them, right? What I'm getting to is this is a rearrangement and destruction of many countries around the world.
Yeah. So, oil's trading at about, I think it was 114 today. It was 110 yesterday. And so, let's see. Oh, crude oil's trading nearly 109 to 112 a barrel on the 20th today. So,
Okay.
So expect $7 gas the next couple weeks. Yeah. I just don't agree. I don't agree with this. I think that we should have a game plan to get out of this whole thing, and it doesn't look like that's what's happening. He just keeps putting out these tweets or whatever they're called, talking about if you don't like Mark Levin, then you're not MAGA. How about we get out of this bullshit and start getting our life back together before people start dying? You know what I mean?
Me personally, I don't see a way out of it. And I don't know that there was a way out of it before all this went down. That's just my two cents on it. And Trump, yay, nay, whatever, like you mentioned, he's one man, right? And the reality is there's none of these things just started in November.
Right. This has been a buildup for years.
This has been a buildup for years,
Yeah.
and the reality, in my experience, is most of the time when you have things that are fucked up, in order to get through them, things get
Yeah, I agree with that.
worse. But yeah, I mean, as far as the war with Iran, I don't know. I don't know that there was any off ramp. It was either
all or nothing.
Well, I don't know about all or nothing. It was just a matter of timing. It was either, okay, we back out, let Israel do what they're going to do, distance ourselves from Israel, and still have to deal with Iran,
Yeah.
or do we go in on the front foot?
Yeah, I agree.
So I mean, it's it's one of those things. It's either way, you're ending up in that fight, whether it's now or a little bit down the road.
Yeah. It would have been great though if it would have been $30 barrels before we went into this. We were at $85 a barrel when we went into this instead of lower prices, and should have had a plan on how he was going to keep the Strait of Hormuz open before. I don't know. I mean,
oh, it's
anyway.
It's a pretty fucked situation all the way around.
Yeah, it sounds like it. We need to just get prepared for whatever's coming, and
Sure.
that's what we need to do. There's some things that we're going to talk about offline for sure. Thank you for being here. I know that we went late, went long, and it's necessary to get all the things done. We got most of the stuff out. We'll be back tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We'll see you then. God bless you. God bless you all, and we will see you tomorrow. Please subscribe to the channel. Go to the description and go in the description and go to My Patriot Supply. Check out some restorable food. You need it more now than ever. Maybe a water filter system, Lexapro water filter system, so that you could have clean water if they shut the power off, they shut the water off, or whatever the hell is coming next, because they're going to attack us any way that they can now to cripple us like they're being crippled over there. And if you think that they don't have the sleeper cells here, they do. They haven't been activated yet. I've seen some lone actors doing some stuff, but I haven't seen anything on mass casualty stuff yet. So we'll pray that doesn't happen. There's supposed to be big events coming up. I don't know what they are. All I got to say is you should be praying to God that this gets straightened out soon. But thank you for being here. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel and share this information everywhere. Thank you. Good night.
Night.